Okay, what we have here is a failure to communicate. We'll switch that around. Alright, so I got Tommy's crank here. And excuse my little heater. It's a little chilly, nipply up here in the Great White North. I'll watch my tongue. Anyways, so I just started playing with these. I've got the pinion side to 0. I'm just gonna... Now a lot of times, where is that button? Ooh. Yeah. Hey, look at me. Look how quick that was, eh? Alright, so I just started playing with these, and I got the pinion side to 0. Look at this. Okay, so I'm about a quarter thou there. And here, okay. No, I wasn't picking my nose. Here I got the sprocket shaft side just under 2 thou. So, so what happens is, sometimes you get this where you just about want it to be, and then you start tapping, and then all of a sudden you knock the other side out. And that's usually because you don't have enough clearance in between your rods. Like I say, you want about 30 thou in between your rods. They might even go up as much as 50 thou. But here's what I found. See, this is something that will drive you nuts. Right? So when you start off, and your flywheels are, like this, right? If you're up around here as your narrow side or wide side, so like if you're too wide out here, too narrow in here, tapping up here is kind of a pain in the butt. So what I'll do, like, you saw how far out Tommy's were, right? That was quite a bit. So what I would do, and what I did do, is I just took a pickle fork. And just be nice with it, because it's steel on steel. And I'll run my pickle fork right above my crank pin, and I'll give her some taps, and I'll widen those flywheels there. That way, when I start tapping on them again, I'm working from a new point. And what I'm trying to do is be careful enough to whack around the bottom so that I'm coming in like this, rather than trying to squeeze in where the crank pin is. Trust me, it's a pain in the butt. So I did that on Tommy's a few minutes ago, and instead of just bringing them out and then tapping each one back into place, I brought it out and put this one exactly into place without tapping the side back in, and this one up to 2 thou. Isn't that lovely? Which is showing me, so that's my narrow side. I'm narrow here and I'm wide right there. See, I'm widening out right here. So there's my original marks there, so I'm still there, which shows me that these flywheels have been out for a while. guess I could back that off. Alright, I'll do that again. Boomer. Okay, so, like I was saying, so what I found with Tom's was this was my wide point, so they were out, and the bottoms away from the 180 from the crank pin were in, and trying to tap this to get the bottom out, it's a real pain in the behind, right? So what I did was I took this pickle fork, I went straight down 180 from the crank pin, and I tapped these and spread the wheels apart. Now normally, if I do that, then I end up tapping them back in, right? Tommy's, I pickle forked them out and brought this pinion right to 0, and I'm within 2 thou, under 2 thou on this side. And what that shows me, like normally when you're messing with flywheels, what happens is you end up pressing these in, not up here, in. So that what she's telling me here is that she's been out of true even before we pulled the engine apart. That's what she's telling me. If I was in down here, then I would go, yeah, okay, maybe we did knock it out of true when we were playing with it. Now normally when I wedge them with a pickle fork and bring them out, I tap them in, but this thing came to 0, like a 1/4 thou, which is really nice on a used set of flywheels, or an old set of flywheels. So here, I found that even though I wedged her out, I'm still where I made that mark on the other film. I'm still out in the same place. So what I'm going to try and do is just tap her up real nice. Not too nice, because here's the thing. When I pickle fork, when I wedge these things apart, it should have extremely brought them apart for me, and it didn't. I brought them to place, and I'm still in the same place where I made the mark, which means I'm going to need a bit of a whack. And to me, that was a hard whack. And you got to be careful, because when you start getting close, you can knock it over to the other side, and you end up having to start again. I know there's other guys that there. I was watching one film with a guy who was working on a twin cam, and he was using his press, and he was having a hell of a time. And my brother, the Flying Cossack, you know, he's telling me about this guy, and I says, yeah, I saw that one, and he's going on and on and on about it, and I'm like, dude, this happens to us all the time, right? This is why I use a combination of 3 things, basically. My press, Big Bertha, and a pickle fork. Because where the crank pin is, you tap in there, you're not going to wedge these things back up. I've done shitloads of flywheels. And it can be a monotonous pain in the butt. Let's see where I'm at here. Okay. I'm still there. I haven't moved. What that's showing me, let me just to move this just in case the shaft's scarred a bit. This hasn't moved. What this is showing me is this thing's been out for a long time. Which I believe it was anyways. Alright. I'm within a thou. I'm about Let's get a close up on that. I got a half thou on that now. But yeah, flywheels, yeah, they can like redoing old flywheels and stuff can really be a pain. Should be able to see that gauge, I hope. So here we go. So what do I got? Half a thou. Put a half a thou there. Alright. You know what? I'm good. I'm good. I believe God hates a coward. But at the same time, I don't believe in kicking against the pricks either. So I've got a quarter thou on this side and a half thou on this side. Hey, as far as I'm concerned, that's true, but I believe these things were out for quite a while. Just the way they were acting. Yes. Yeah, it's pretty strange. And the other thing that'll happen to you is say you're out at the bottom, right? And you start tapping, and sometimes it'll start moving around on you and you end up like out this way, which is what this flywheel was, right? And then you start tapping over here, and next thing you know, you're too wide here and too narrow here again. And then you got to start over, and to start over, if I wedge these, now I got to do both sides again, right? So I'm feeling pretty blessed. The good Lord must be watching over me, getting her in that quick. Now, I gotta be really careful on putting on those tinkins, because I don't want to whack them out again. So here we have her. What did I do with that wristband? Did I show you guys how the wristband turned out? I can't remember. I can't me remember. My kid used to say when he was knee high to a grasshopper. Knee rembers. Yeah, I'm right in there. Right in there. So I like this one better. Maybe I'll give this one another spin. There's a little force. I got a little friction there. Look at this one. This was the one. This was the one that where the standard bushing pressed in decent. This was the one where I didn't like it, and so why I put the two overs in. She's a little easier to. I spent a little time on that. She's close. Yeah, I'll just give that another buzz. Just one more quick buzz. Very carefully. So here's Tommy's true. I'm leaving her at a half thou and a quarter thou. People don't like it, well, too bad. Do it yourself.